I really wanted challenging tasks. I really wanted something that challenged me. And then, and anybody who's ever gotten into trouble in school, at that age, or at least in that time frame, I don't know what it's like now. My daughter doesn't go to a school that kind of does that sort of stuff, so I can't even relate in that regard as a parent. But in that time frame, I remember if you stood out in a certain way, you were put on kind of like this permanent list, this permanent record. I mean, it followed me all the way through high school. I mean, I remember leaving my high school and just remember thinking, God damn, at least that's fucking no longer following me around.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Swenson and Simon. I am Trevor Swenson, as always, joined by my co-host Simon. What's up, brother?
Hey.
How you been? It's been a while.
It has been a while. I'm back though.
Yeah, no, we're loving life here. Joined with us this week is a very good friend of mine. I guess long-term friend at this point now.
I guess it's been a few years at this point.
Not good, just long term.
Yeah, long term. He's a good friend. So, Sam Dean, CEO and founder of Plug Your Holes. I'm assuming probably one of the biggest plug companies on the planet now. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I don't know. So I would say that there's not a lot of crosstalk between companies within our industry, and there's not like industry publications. So like we have like, your basic information that maybe you can pick up off of, like just trying to analyze web traffic and things like that. We're definitely not the smallest. To say we're the biggest, I think there's probably a conversation to be had there, but I would say that we're a contender.
Well, I'll tell you what. Give our listener, thanks, buddy. Just give us a rundown. Tell us about yourself. For the listeners that might not know who exactly you are, what your company is. Explain what Plug Your Holes is. So, give that a whole rundown and just kind of tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So when I'll start out with a little a funny story, just because the name's Plug Your Holes, and that was to some degree in September of 2003. That was not 2003, 2006. The person who helped me build our first site, we settled on that name after like hundreds of names. I bought probably 30 domain names that night, and at 4 to 6 hours into just trying to come up with names, buying domain names, Plug Your Holes was one of the ones we bought, and it's the only one I remembered when I woke up, and that's how I knew we were going to call it that. And then we had our first mail carrier who used to pick up and drop off our mail quite a bit. It took him a year and a half to get the balls to ask him what the fuck we did. Oh, real quick, you never told me the do's and don'ts. I don't know if I can cuss or what.
Oh yeah,
say whatever the fuck you want.
You're good, dude. You're good.
Okay, just
we prefer it.
Basically, I'd been in a bunch of medium to smaller size bands until I was about 23, and I worked a job selling advertisements in the Yellow Pages for a few months, and it sucked.
What are the Yellow Pages? What is that?
What's that?
What's the Yellow
Pages?
Pages?
Right, yeah. Talk about the most archaic form of of like a job at the moment. Like you could just smell the death in the air.
Oh yeah.
That September, my wife was working. My wife was working at a Perkins. Do you guys have those in California?
Absolutely. Remember, I'm from the Midwest, so we always would do the Perkins. We do the 1 o'clock in the morning run and the Bolza Ranch. Absolutely,
we're familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So my wife's working Graves at a Perkins at the time. And for anybody who doesn't know, that means the overnights. She's working, till 6 a.m.
Respect.
I have this off period if you work in a lot of print media at the time, you have off time when it goes to print. So you just don't have work for 3 or 4 months sometimes of the year. And so I knew I sucked because I'm trying to go into businesses as a 23-year-old kid covered in tattoos, big fucking earrings, and no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. And it sucked. I mean, like I'm from northern Minnesota. I'm trying to sell fucking advertising in northern Minnesota to like mechanics and shit who just don't give a shit about me. And so I told my wife I had this idea. I'd already been kind of like doing a little bit of this on the side, selling body jewelry, even at the end of my touring kind of years. And I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to turn this into a real company. And I knew I didn't want to do it on eBay, and I don't even think Amazon was an opportunity at the time. And so I built a website, bought as much product as I could possibly afford, photoed it with just like this little Casio camera. And the worst thing about it is like I have a background in photography, like that goes back to like when I was like 13 years old, but I've sold all of my camera gear to pursue music. So like I had to buy this like shitty camera that I could get the best photo I could with because I couldn't go afford like $1,000 camera. And I get this website launched, and then like somewhere right in the first couple months, the Nintendo Wii, the PS3, and the 10th anniversary Tickle Me Elmo all come out right about the same time. And so
Tickle Me Elmo was in 2003? Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, sorry, tangent.
It's 06. So the September 06. If I said
Sounds
03,
about right.
I keep making mistakes because that's the year my wife and I met, and so I keep probably going back and forth between my years. But anyway, Plug Your Holes 06. So I sell these. I make like $7,000 or something on eBay, selling 4 PlayStation 3s, 4 Nintendo Wiis, and I don't know, 5 or 6 Tickle Me Elmos, and some like airsoft guns and shit, like just random shit, anything I could sell. I went 2 months late on my rent in my 1-bedroom apartment, and I just like I bet it all on black. And I would say, I think Black Friday was kind of that year. Black Friday was kind of like the moment, and by Christmas, so by Black Friday, I knew I'd made the right decision. By Christmas, I was already making more than I'd ever made at the job that I was trying not to go back to. I kind of just kept. Go ahead.
Sorry, was that from the online hustle that you were doing with the consoles, or was this with Plug Your Holes?
This is a Plug Your Holes.
Okay, so in that short period, the product just immediately started kind of doing its thing.
Yeah, and like I'll definitely give some credit where credit is due because I definitely had an unfair advantage. So this is in the MySpace days, and so my own band multiple bands that I was no longer in or no longer existed, I still had access to the accounts. So I was able to like take advantage of, pushing it out to, I believe my band at the band that had the biggest following had something like 36,000 followers or something on MySpace. And then we were also friends with some bands that were really supportive. Data Remember being one of the big ones. And I don't want that to be discouraging of anyone who is going to start a business. Like that was not the only thing that led to but there are definitely a couple open doors that were there due to all of my experiences prior to the company.
You were grinding, like it was straight bootstrap build up. That's awesome.
Yeah, like zero debt, zero. I mean, who the fuck would have lent me money? I mean, like.
Well, I mean, that still applies to like today's modern style too. A lot of our guests, whether it's me or Trevor, primarily Trevor, but I contribute a little bit. Like we wouldn't even be able to pick this information from you if it wasn't for your relationship with Trevor. So obviously that level of networking is everything. And I've always seen Plug Your Holes everywhere since kind of the dawn of plugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and even the reason we even and this I know I'm gonna I know Trevor had kind of let you know that I'm never short for words. There's plenty of words to come out of my mouth.
That's why we love you, man. That's why we love you.
I love it.
Yeah, there you go.
This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Say it with us, Blue Chew. Blue Chew is making waves and bringing more confidence to the bedroom by offering chewable tablets that can help men get stronger and longer-lasting erections. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men achieve harder, stronger erections to combat all forms of ED. Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. And it ships right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part? It's all done online. Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. Don't like swallowing pills? No problems here. Blue Chew's Sildenafil and Tadalafil tablets are chewable. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared to ship direct, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy. So if you could benefit from a little extra confidence in bed when it's time to perform, visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we've got a very special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code SSCAST at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code SSCAST to receive your first month free. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring our podcast.
Yo, what's up, guys? Sorry to interrupt you, but before we get back to the show,
Make sure you subscribe to our channel right now.
yes, right now,
We thank you for the support, everybody.
and we're going to get right back to the action.
But even to like go back just a little bit further into the past, the reason I even started it in the first place is because at the time the music, like the body jewelry industry was so synonymous with the tattoo industry, and everything looked like something you'd find at like a cliche, like I don't know,
Claire's.
yeah, it was just terrible. It was
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
had fucking barbed wire and you know it was just dumb looking. And I remember thinking like, well, I come from the band world where I've just spent 6 years or more. I don't remember. Yeah, I guess 6 years or so. Yeah, 6 years developing merch that we knew would stand out to compete with the bands we're playing on tour with. You know, everything. I mean, everything at that point. You know, when you're in your early 20s and you don't have, you know, major label support or, I mean, anything. When you don't have anything, when you got 20 kids at a show in Tupelo, Mississippi, you need as many of them to buy a T-shirt as possible.
Oh,
you know, because
that's 100% of it. 100%.
yeah, the door ain't paying you shit.
No.
So,
no.
especially if they, you know, if you're, you know, deep into an album cycle or something like that, and they already own the CD or something to that nature. And so I knew how to run a band and how to market a band. So I treated the company like the one thing I knew, and that was the music industry. And so I made it like the music industry's body jewelry company. And and because of another band that I played bass in for a little bit, we had a meeting with Kevin Lyman in 2006, summer 2006, if I recall.
Friend of the show.
And what was that?
Friend of the show. Kevin Lyman, friend of the show.
Through that conversation that Kevin Lyman had with the band that I was in, I have Kevin Lyman's email. And so, I don't know, December, January, something like that, I get the dumb idea to email Kevin Lyman and ask him if there's an opportunity for this new company that I just started to go on the Vans Warped Tour. Keep in mind, I'd only ever been to one Warped Tour ever in my life, and that was a single showcase day that the band I just mentioned had played. I was like into the Christian music scene growing up, so I was going to Cornerstone and Sunshine and things like that. Even the band that I was in, the band that did the most touring was like a Christian metalcore band. So it was kind of like this its own ecosystem at the time.
What year was this?
Go on.
What year was this, if you don't mind me asking? I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure, like, you know, we can clarify, like, the timeline. Like, what year was that when you were like, hey, Kevin, can we set up a booth, you know, at Warped Tour?
It had to be late 06, early 07, but it was for the 07 Warped Tour. So you got to keep in mind, I'm a company that's just a couple months old, and I don't have some would say logic, but I think that I just don't know how not to run into a burning building, if that makes sense. So then again, so that I'm trying to race through as many things here as I can. At the same time, I also owned a concert venue that just kind of fell into my hands. That just happened to be this big space that was cheap to rent above a VFW, and I joined another band. So like, and now I'm touring again. So it was a pretty hectic year. So when it came around time to do that Warped Tour that we did get okayed for, I couldn't do it. I had tours lined up. I had a venue that had a full like schedule. It's like not a crazy big venue, but like a 250 cap, you know, just a small thing.
Big money to be seen in those.
I don't know about that. We didn't have a liquor license, so you know there was no money.
Oh wait,
that's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah,
never mind. I take that back.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So my wife does Warped Tour the first year with a guy named Joe Zimmer, who is still one of my best friends. You might know him. He was with Bring Me the Horizon for a long time. He was their main merch dude, and he's been with everybody. Like, I mean, I think he started with Hit the Lights, after us, and
And
then
he's
just kind
actually
of,
still with Bring Me, isn't he?
what's up?
Does Joe still work with Bring Me as well?
I think he just recently left because he has two kids and a third on the way, and lives in Canada, and is now. He hasn't renounced his American citizenship, but he has his Canadian citizenship now.
Oh
So
yeah, I did a show. Just on a side note, I did a show with Converge one time. This was only a few years ago. After they're kind of destroying every venue they attend. And I was production managing that show, and their TM was a really cool dude named Tom, who also worked with Bring Me in the merch department, And just on a side note, I recall him being like, "They're not giving us percentages anymore." We're all on retainers. I was like, no shit, dude. I was like, they can't afford to give you a percentage, bro.
It's good times, man. Success is
yeah,
fun.
I remember watching them like at the Uptown Theater here in Kansas City. I just came out to basically hang out with Joe, but Bring Me is one of those bands that like I like them enough, but there are artists that perform at that level that you just can't not watch.
Yeah.
And they were performing at a very high level at that point. It was after Sempiternal, but I don't think I think it was late in the Sempiternal album cycle, and but I mean I think they did like $36,000 in merch to a crowd of maybe 2,200.
Yeah.
I mean,
was that the Beartooth Under Oath tour? That one? I think that was the
it
States
was,
tour they did.
It was Let Live, Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember who else. I'm like, the hard thing about this stuff is as I've gotten older, like I give way less shits about a lot of the bands unless they really impress me.
I don't blame you.
I mean, it's like even just something like even recently, like my favorite band to come out of I guess that scene in the last 5 years is probably Don Broco.
Oh, next level. I wish that band would break.
Yeah.
In the U.S. like they've broke overseas, because it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dance Gavin Dance is from Sacramento. That's where we're from, and those dudes are all like good friends of mine. And
I actually saw them on tour. I saw Don Broco on tour with Dance Gavin Dance.
Yeah, exactly. And Broco came over here, and I was kind of talking to Matt and them, and he was like, "Yeah, I know it's crazy their support, but he was like, kind of the deal that transpired was like." Yo, we take you out over here and maybe you let us open up some arenas in Europe,
Well, exactly. It kind of reminds me of how Biffy Clyro lands here, or Las Vegas, or a lot of these really great English bands that are just fucking huge. They play Glastonbury or they play, any of these huge festivals in England, and they come over here and they're playing, the Rave in Madison or Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's wild to me.
Yeah, Biffy Clyro though, like they're getting big again over here in the States. Like it's going to transfer. Their new records, obviously before pandemic, they were definitely on a heater to start raising up to that 1,000, 2,000, 1,500 cab level. So they were getting up there.
Dude, it's wild. I did a show with 1OK Rock, the Japanese
Oh,
band.
they're so huge in Japan.
And they sell out like Super Saitama Arena anywhere, in Japan and all over Asia. They're doing like 25,000, and they came here and did 1,000 caps. I mean, I think now they've kind of reached that level where they're probably doing like small arenas and 5K plus. Trevor knows that more than me, but it still blew my mind when I was waiting in line and like half the line was like all Asian culture, and I was like, what's going on?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this band is the real deal,
I still remember seeing the 1975?
1975
at Ace.
Yeah,
I'm like, how is this band playing to 1,000 people?
Crazy, dude.
Either way, we gotta get back to this.
Sorry.
So we gotta hear more about the company. I gotta hear more about like your story, because you're an interesting guy. You're a super smart dude, and I'm what's your education? Like, what did you have before this? Are you self-taught? Are you a Rogue Scholar? What? Give me something here. Yeah.
Rogue Scholar it is.
He is. Like, did you go to school? No? Okay, so that's cool. So you're 100% self-taught at all this shit. And
I wouldn't say self-taught. I wouldn't say self-taught because we're the sum of all of our parts. So I have been around and probably choose to be around smart people intentionally to glean information that I was not born with. And kind of where I ended the plug your whole story thus far is probably the most important part. So there isn't a whole lot of necessity to know what happened from there, outside of maybe some good lucky breaks and a lot of there's definitely some rough times. But I'm an only child born to a single mother in Duluth, Minnesota,
That's really fun.
and
Duluth. I didn't know. Nice.
my mom. What was that?
I was gonna say I didn't remember where in northern Minnesota you're from. Duluth. Yeah. I like
Yeah.
Duluth.
It's the
Sounds cold.
it's the white trash San Francisco.
It's my favorite. It's my
Um,
favorite T-shirt ever from a movie, from The Great Outdoors, where he's got the shirt
Oh,
that says
yeah.
"I've been to Duluth." I got to get that shirt. So stupid.
Yeah, I love, but I love it. I love these weird little references. Like even just growing up watching, even Tommy Boy, which is one of my favorite movies of all time,
R.I.P.
has there's a road sign that says how far they are from Duluth as they're driving up the road in
Yep.
David Spade's car.
And it's like beat to shit.
Oh yeah, it's the
Yeah.
worst moment for the car in the
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
and I'm just like, yeah, I live in that town.
Yeah. It's a nice town.
Everybody, like, I know so many friends who live in New York and LA, and they're in everything. Even so, Joe, my I'll answer your question better in a second, but just to kind of cater to that, uh, Joe Ionelli is my number two. He's my right hand man, and he used to have a company that was on Warped Tour for a few years, as well, called originally called Self Made, or no, I'm sorry, originally called Selfless Murder, and then called Self Made, and he kind of fell into what I would say was like the kind of clothing company collapse that happened with a lot of clothing companies all around the same time, probably 2012, 2013, something like that.
Mhm.
And then came to work for us, moved to Kansas City to work for us. And he, as a kid living in Staten Island, used to think that every town in America had their own version of every show because every show took place in New York. So he thought like, oh, Minneapolis must have their own version of Saturday Night Live, and LA must have its own version of
Oh,
Saturday Night
wow.
Live.
Like he really
you know?
thought this? Like this was actually a thought of his, or like this is just him being a kid not knowing any better?
I mean, yes and yes. So,
You know how much that would cost to shoot all those shows?
I mean, we're talking like he's in like second grade. Or
Oh,
something,
okay.
you know,
Now
like,
yeah.
but to get back to like just kind of my background or whatever, I guess I don't know, it's average, but kind of a loner. Only children, I think, like have a weird thing where I don't know. I just don't think sometimes they give a lot of fucks and sometimes they don't about what people think. And it's a weird thing. I knew I was poor. I always knew I was poor. And, as soon as I was old enough to either have school all day and somewhere else to go, or old enough to have school all day and then come home and be like, able to like make myself a meal or something.
Yeah.
My mom was in college.
I mean, getting the free meals at school and stuff, that can really, change the mentality and sometimes.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And like, I'm actually going to go into a dark place here because like I want to be like, just to preface this, I want to be as open. Like I have this thing where like, it kind of comes out of being in a band, but also like being a telemarketer at one point in time in my life. I hate any point in time where you have to try to be someone that's not yourself. So anybody who meets me and talks to anything, talks to me about anything, I can guarantee you, and Trevor can probably attest to this, that the version you're getting of me is identical to the version you'll get in real life. I just don't have, when I have that switch, like when you're really pissed about how you performed on stage and you get off and you have to be nice to everybody who thinks you did great, it feels so unnatural to me. So I've made a decision a long time ago to like just be the whatever version of me that is right now, and I have no apologies because it's a really good test to friends as well. If you don't like this, then you don't like me, and if you don't like me, then whatever, fuck off. I don't care. Like so.
Yeah, I like it better when you're genuine, which you always pretty much are genuine. Like you're never gonna bullshit.
Yeah. I
It's
just don't
always
see.
straight shooter. So
Yeah, I just don't see any point in not being genuine. I just have nothing to prove. I just don't. I mean, and maybe it's like an age or wisdom thing or something. I don't know. I don't think I'm anywhere near wisdom, but I think I've acquired I don't know. My XP on wisdom is maybe,
Well, that could
quarter.
probably be a testament to your success as well, though. You know what I mean? Because I do feel that way. I work in the business environment as well as Trev, and it's sometimes you just get that level of authenticity from people where you're able to know that it's 100%. And it's one of those things where it's like, even if I'm dealing with a TM, I can tell when somebody's being real with me, face to face, as opposed to blowing smoke up my ass, for lack of a better word. And I think when you have that level of authenticity, it allows you to succeed a little more. Because like you said, people can see through the bullshit, man.
Well, that's a big thing.
Oh,
That's
God,
a big
yeah.
thing with Sam, though, like where he has the ability to say no really, really well, which is cool. But he says it in the way of like, this is why it's a no.
Yeah.
And he's genuine about it, as opposed to just blowing you off and saying some bullshit made
I'll
up
get
thing.
back to you.
Yeah, but here it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And this is why. But maybe later I'll think about that, like, which is fine. That's a cool way. And I know that all other people that do business with him think the same way.
Yeah,
So.
straightforwardness, dude, and honesty like that in situations like that, it kills all.
Well, thank you guys for inflating my ego. Now let me deflate it for a little bit.
Yeah, deflate away.
The I'm only going this far back because I feel it's necessary to answer your question, and I'm not somebody who has short answers because I don't believe there are very many of them. But so I was, I guess I don't know. I don't really remember a whole lot prior to being 10 years old, other than being an only child, spending a lot of time playing by myself. We lived in bad neighborhoods, maybe a local, maybe a neighbor friend here or there, but like we moved a lot too, which is kind of like something that happens when you're poor. And when I was right before my 10th birthday, I was put in a like a mental institute, basically. I mean, like a hospital. I was put in a hospital facility because I was having behavioral problems at school, and
like what specifically were you doing? Because I mean, there might be parents that are listening or whatever that their kids might be doing the same shit. So like, what were you doing exactly? Like, were you starting fires? Were you getting in fights? What were you doing? So
no, I wasn't starting fires. And I wasn't particularly violent or anything either. That came later. Man. So I was just never, I could never see a good reason to do things I didn't want to do. I mean,
A little bit of carelessness.
not carelessness. I would say actually like abundance of care, but where I didn't have care, I gave no fucks.
So was it a drive thing? Like you had no drive to do anything, or you just didn't have a drive to be like to do anything anybody told you to do, type of thing?
Neither. Though I developed later in life probably what you'd consider like an anti-authoritarian kind of complex to some degree, but at that point in time, no, it was I just found everything mundane and boring, and I really I really wanted challenging tasks. I really wanted something that challenged me. And anybody who's ever gotten into trouble in school at that age, or at least in that time frame, I don't know what it's like now. My daughter doesn't go to a school that kind of does that sort of stuff, so I can't even relate in that regard as a parent. But in that time frame, I remember if you stood out in a certain way, and I would say, yeah, I mean, I guess some of that's anti-authoritarian. You were put on kind of like this permanent list, this permanent record. I mean, it followed me all the way through high school. I mean, I remember leaving my high school and just remember thinking, God damn, at least that's fucking no longer following me around.
If I'm not crossing any lines here, just to clarify in that situation, maybe if people didn't catch earlier, I mean, you did come from a single parent home, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, your mom. So was there any outside, like, male figures in your life there? Did mom have a brother, or did you have anyone like you could turn to, from that standpoint?
I can think of a few, but the two that stand out the most is when I was really young, my mom had a boyfriend long term, and this is like 9 years, something like that. So she was with him for a long time. His name is Ralph, and he was he had his problems, but at the end of the day, he was a pretty entrepreneurial dude. Always seemed to come up with money out of nowhere. Always seemed to be able to afford the new MC Hammer tape. Always seemed to find that part for his Saab 900 that he couldn't afford yesterday. It was just one of those things, and was into new stuff. I mean, I definitely can relate back to, like, I don't know if I got it from him, but I can definitely relate to him, at least, that, like, I'm into new technology. I'm super into technology. I always have been. And I wouldn't be shocked if I got that from him. And the other person is my grandfather. My grandfather was a big person in my life. He unfortunately passed away in 2005. It's actually the best thing about that band I was in breaking up is that we were supposed to be on tour through Christmas that year. And we broke up, and I was home to spend the last 6 weeks of his life with him.
What a blessing
And so
in
that was,
disguise, dude.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to be dark. I mean, like, I'm
No,
a
that's
super
real.
positive guy.
That's
So
real, man.
I just want to be clear that, like, none of this stuff is like, I'm not trying to be downtrodden about any of this stuff. This is just life. I mean, this is what makes you who you are.
Fellas, your balls happy?
Support for Swenson and Bance is brought to you by Manscaped.
The best in men's below-the-waist grooming.
Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels.
This stuff has some sick features.
The waterproof technology allows you to groom in the shower.
One of the coolest features is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for closer and more precise trimming.
Let's get that bush and tush clean.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BUYIT at manscaped.com.
Make your testes their bestie.
Your balls and your partner will gladly thank you.
Oh yeah.
From home studio to your office, your gear performs better in an acoustic-treated room. It's not your gear, it's the room.
RLX Acoustics creates professionally tested products that's not some knockoff mattress foam. RLX provides free knowledge and support so that you can properly enhance your acoustics.
Use code Swenson and Bance in all caps at rlx.com for 10% off your entire order.
The #1 brand in acoustics, providing you trusted solutions for over 40 years.
If it works for us, it's going to work for you.
Make sure to go to rlx.com. That's AURALEX.com.
Agent Live 360, the world's first and only publicly offered CRM software designed specifically for sports agents.
AL360 is an incredible state-of-the-art software that does everything from keeping track of clients, professional, and college teams, to even company finances and client return on investment.
This system does it all. Visit agentlive360.com for full details.
Go check it out.
But just to go back to the whole hospitalization thing, I think it was just too much. I think I've always been super high energy, super, more mental than physical. Like, this has come up recently as it's been a conversation between some friends of mine and also my wife and my mother. I was never that kid that was bouncing off the walls. I was the kid who was, I was taking apart radios and putting them back together just for fun. Just trying to figure shit out. And I think that's kind of the first time I realized that, like, all I want to do is know everything. How hard is that? And
this sounds very familiar.
So that and as anybody who has that kind of that thought process, you understand the more you know, the more you realize you don't. It's the tragedy of it is a pursuit of you're never going to get there. There's a word that I'm trying to find, but I can't find it right now. But futility. It is a pursuit, that is futile.
But what? So
you'll never know everything.
So again, the hospitalization. What got you out of it? I'm assuming that you were a Ritalin kid. Then if they're putting you in there and they're trying to get you to going again, right? Or they gave you some kind of animant or whatever that stuff is, to get you going, right?
Shockingly, by the way, this shocks me as well. No, never Ritalin, never diagnosed with ADHD. Oddly enough, I'm 37 years old. I'll be 38 in May. The first time I was ever diagnosed with any form of ADHD was 16 days ago.
Wow.
That makes no sense. I think that's just pill pushing, man.
Do
Nobody has that. The world does not have that much ADHD. We're just excited.
Do you see yourself as a certain level? Just to touch on the ADHD situation. Do you see yourself as, I guess, for lack of a better word, as a perfectionist? Especially
No.
in your industry, are you one of
No.
those guys where you're like, it has to be this level and this exactly?
No, I'm a marginalist. Um, I'm a broad strokes first person that allows everybody else to do the finishing touches. Some of those finishing touches are done by myself. So I want to open up as many doors as possible to. Um, I'm trying to think of an example. Even just with the current stuff right now. If we change our entire shipping system, my goal is to spend 16 hours a day making sure that the foundation is set, and that I have an understanding that I can later explain to people. And this isn't just me, obviously. Like, there's a couple people who deal with like the high level stuff with me, but the goal is to then build teams beyond that who can then that once we understand, then they can understand, and we can kind of distribute the work in a way that is, we've done all the heavy lifting at the beginning, and now it's all the finishing touches. It's like, think of like the way you build a website. Like let's just use Shopify, for example. And I'm sorry if you don't know what Shopify is, but it's the easiest, probably mainstream e-commerce platform that there is for if you want to own a website that sells stuff. That it's the best way to do it. You can be insane and get down to the super granular details on your own. But what makes way more sense, especially if you have a team, is to do the thing you know how to do, and that is pick the theme, hire the dev, pick the art, do all that stuff. But in the background, have 10 people who already know the platform, building products, writing descriptions, all the stuff that needs to happen, doing the fact page, doing terms of service, doing all the shit that makes the thing run, hooking up the API gateways to the payment processors, all the stuff. It's like no. So I would say that like I'm just instantly, and I don't think I've ever been like necessarily a perfectionist. I've always been somebody who's I guess just big picture. I would say big picture.
But that's not, again, that's not ADHD. That's learning the process. That's running your business. That's essentially just being a workaholic, to where it's you need to know your process so that you can tell your staff how to do the process. And if you don't know it, then you shouldn't be the boss of your own company if you don't know how to do this thing. So you're essentially just,
which I agree with. Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know the process from start to finish of every single product in your building, you're not a good boss. And you should be doing way more. Again, the very Gary V thing to say here, but if you don't work 10 times harder than your hardest working employee, you shouldn't own the company. So,
well,
I will push back. I want to get back to kind of something I was saying earlier, but before I say that, I'll push back on that. And this comes down to something, and maybe I just don't have what Gary V has, or whatever. I don't know. The thing I'll say about that is I spent the first 10 years, so the company is 14 and a half years old now. I spent the first 10 years with a very unhealthy work-life balance. I mean, just wasn't good for my marriage. In the beginning of my daughter's life, it wasn't good for her. It wasn't good. I actually barely paid myself. I mean, it was, we knew how to live poor. I mean, to be honest, like we lived, I drove a 2000, gosh, I just drove an old Audi, and it broke all the time, and it probably cost me more to fix it than I probably could have owned a new car for the same price, to be honest. Yeah, my wife drove an old Jetta TDI. There was a moment where I needed to stop having 16-hour days, and that was about 10 years in, and especially when my daughter was born. And that's honestly part of the reason we moved to Thailand. I don't even know if I have to even talk to you about that. We lived in Thailand for a year just to get the fuck away from it for a minute. Wow. Because I was so burnt out.
No, you didn't tell me that. Where'd you live there?
Bangkok. One of my best friends and a former bandmate of mine lives in Bangkok, and he's married and has a kid, and his wife has a very successful business in fashion there. And we were about to buy a house. It was spring of 2015. And my wife and I were looking over all the houses on Zillow or whatever we had been doing, and we're just like, dude, I need to get the fuck out of here.
Well, and just some clarification, I think, for the listeners too. By the time 2015 hit, you were at an early peak in your business. It's not like it was still a small town shop at that point. In 2015, it had already become the kind of Goliath that it is.
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of like what that looks like, but I mean, we were probably approaching $1 million a year or something like that,
Yeah.
Or so we're in that ballpark. I mean, I don't remember what year we hit that, but I believe 15 or 16, we probably hit that number. There was a level of exhaustion there that like I was, it was palpable, and the move overseas for that year was really great. And I can get back to that in a minute. The only thing I want to go back to, just because, like, as you mentioned, there might be parents who are listening. There might be people who have experienced some shit as they were kids. So I was never prescribed Ritalin when I was in that hospital. I was there for about a month. I was there over my 10th birthday. I know that. And I mean, there was moments of it that were kind of fun. Basically, that's how I wrapped out my 4th grade year. I never finished 4th grade. I mean, I did, technically, but that I never went back to my elementary school because my birthday is in, end of May. So, school would have been done by the time I got out. And they put me on antidepressants, oddly enough, which something I would definitely tell everybody. And now this has happened to me twice, which is the most fucked up thing because I should have known the second time. When people put you on antidepressants, they need to understand what people make a lot of really dumb diagnoses about things. And I understand your sentiment, Trevor, on the ADHD thing. And I have a lot of opinions about that as well. But I'll get to that in a sec. The thing that really sucked was that, like, I didn't have the confidence to stand up to a doctor and tell him, no, I don't want this medicine. So I felt like shit for a year.
Yeah, but you were in 4th
And
grade. How can you stand up to a doctor in 4th grade? And I mean, that's impossible.
Oddly enough, I had no problem standing up against my teachers, but apparently I couldn't stand up to a doctor.
It's like totalitarian.
Well, and I'm assuming in that situation too, it's like your mom just wants what's best for you and wants to trust the medical opinion, and that's kind of the plan,
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. So I took them for a year. It's a drug called dizipramine, which is an SSRI. And I've remembered that name my entire life because I fucking hated this thing so bad. And maybe, I don't know. I don't remember the exact timeline because it's something that's fucking 27 years ago. But I stopped taking it because there was this day, I had a day where I just felt like total dog shit. And I'd never felt depressed before this. Like the assignment of depression at that time, I think, was an excuse for me having a bad life. Like I didn't have friends. Like I didn't live in a good neighborhood. My mom didn't trust me going outside at that age. Like I just don't think I had a good life. I don't think I was depressed. I just think I was circumstantially frustrated. And I'd get to school and I know this can sound like arrogant, but it was easy. And I'd just be like, this is stupid. Like, why the fuck are we talking about this? Like, why are we talking about something stupid? Because the whole class has to be taught at the level of the dumbest kid in the class. And I'm just frustrated, that's why I didn't see the point of homework when you already knew the subject, or if you thought that it had no applicable value to your life in the long term. And so I got to this point, I'm probably 11, maybe even 12 at this point, where I have these 2 full bottles because they gave me 2 different dosages. I had to take one of one and one of the other. And I knew in my like heart of hearts that I only had 2 options, and that was I swallow this whole bottle or I flush them down the toilet, and I'm done. Either way, I'm done, and that's all I knew. And that's what I did. I flushed them down the toilet, and I had to keep going back to that psychiatrist for a while, and eventually he asked me why my prescription had been filled up in a while, and I told him, kind of what happened at that point. And he's, he tried to talk me back into it. And I was like, I'm never going back. And that was that. And that's the last time I saw that guy and the last time I dealt with that stuff. Um, there's definitely some waves that kind of happened after that where I was kind of in and out of just being a troublemaker kid. Then this is where, being in a bad neighborhood of kids who fight in northern Minnesota, I wasn't particularly violent, but sometimes when somebody punches you in the face, you got to punch back. So
Definitely.
So there were some violent moments, but I would say that like right about 10th grade is where things started to normalize. And I'd been kicked out of my school. I'd finally come back to my high school. This time, at least my friends that were there, my friends from my neighborhood, or at least we were all at the same school. And those are the 10th and 11th grade were the best years, probably the best years of school in my entire life. And it had nothing to do with school. It had to do with the fact that my friends were there. I was on the debate team and I was kicking ass. I was on the speech team and I was kicking ass. I was in drama. I loved it. And then that transitioned to music and then eventually became something a lot bigger.
So to jump in, do you think that puberty had something to do with it though? Because like if you're in 10th grade, essentially that's full-fledged puberty. Your nuts dropped right then and there. Like, the chemicals in your head essentially changed and you're kind of finding your path. Is that essentially where you think the change came, or do you think it's just because your life was better at that point?
I would say I definitely can relate to that. And I definitely have a pretty good grasp on how my hormones feel, and I can get into that in a different way. But every conversation is like just a seed for another conversation. So it's just,
Yeah.
And I have no shame talking about any of this. So this is just my life. And I hope that, I hope to God somebody listens to this and goes, oh, fuck. Like the worst thing on earth that exists is people who don't talk about their fucking problems, because anybody who has problems then doesn't understand that other people have fucking problems. Like, just talk about your problems, be real. I refer often to resumes that I get as like the equivalent of a booty picture on Instagram. You're only seeing the thing they want you to show you.
Yeah.
And that is just exactly how I feel people talk about so many things like this. And like, so if you consider me successful, then just understand that a whole lot of fucked up stuff happened along the way. And a lot of people thought I was a loser for a very long time before there was ever any successful. And I still don't even consider myself successful. I consider myself somebody who's in transition. I'm transitioning towards success. That's a whole nother thing. But to go back to the
Chemicals.
The chemicals. Yeah. So I spent half of 8th grade and all of 9th grade or if you're Canadian, grade 9, in this alternative school, which basically the majority of what I learned there was just like how to get into trouble and not get caught. It was just a bunch of criminals just teaching you how to not get caught. And that was basically it, But some of the teachers there were pretty good. I got into weightlifting there. That helped a lot. This old hockey coach dude was my English teacher, oddly enough. And he got a couple of his kids into weightlifting, and that kind of like gave me a little bit of like, I remember I stopped looking like a boy and started looking like a man in that era. And then this sweet woman, Lorraine Simpson, got me playing guitar. And I'd already on the guitar, and I'd been playing guitar a little bit here and there, but she would bring this 12-string acoustic and teach us these like fucking folk songs. We'd go play songs to like geriatrics in like a nursing home, and it makes it feel good to make somebody's day. I don't know. There's a couple little things there, and even there's this guy Ken Matthews who even helped me kind of get me into like the culinary and stuff. And even as I left that school, I thought I was going to be a chef, not a musician or a business owner. So as I re-entered high school, I think that I understood. Maybe I didn't understand shit. But my history teacher, right away, 10th grade, started recruiting me hard for the debate team. Like he just saw something in me and was like, what do I need to do to convince you to come and like try to join the debate team? And I'm like, I don't know, man.
It sounds like you knew how to turn lemons into lemonade, dude.
Yeah.
I think that's what you really learned at a young age, and you're still doing to this day,
Oh, for sure. Nothing like so that gave me like I think a purpose, a reason to be in the building. I think was like probably the biggest thing there. I'm not saying I probably would have dropped that like way before I did, but like just this is a very long answer for a very simple question. And
love it.
the simple question was, what is your education?
Yeah.
Well, I dropped out halfway through my senior year because of something that doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. But I felt that there was no more reason to go there. This is right about the time I started like pursuing music, and that was that. It was just like I walked out of the building and I felt like a weight lifted off my chest, like nothing had ever. And I knew the path before me would be hard, but I was willing. I was willing to go.
Did you?
I don't know.
Did you ever go back and get your GED or anything like that, or are you still technically a successful business owner without a high school diploma?
Why the fuck would I get a GED, Trevor?
They hang it on the wall and say "fuck you" that told me that I couldn't do it. I don't know, something.
I'd rather have a big old blank piece of paper because Daddy says "fuck you" even more.
There's so many parents watching right now saying, "Shut up! Don't listen to this part, kids." I get it though. Believe me, it's your path that you've taken, and obviously that's the path you need to take. And I completely respect the hell out of it because you needed that catalyst in your life, and you clearly got it. Because the catalyst that you were looking for,
for sure.
you need to learn on the streets of what you were doing. Back to the chemical aspect of things, like, with ADHD, you wanted to mention something about that, like just with what I had said.
Yeah. So yeah, I think first of all, I would have never in a million years thought that I would ever end up with an ADHD diagnosis, but also at the same time, like birds of a feather, man. Like half my employees, if not more, are ADHD, and we have a really tight. I mean, we're all about culture and like really about like we care about. I mean, we care a lot about the vibe in the building and about like how people get along with each other because we've seen one bad apple, kind of spoil the whole bunch. But yeah, and I kind of over the years have realized, but the way this is like a totally side realization that like, I'm almost processing in real time at this moment, just how many friends and people around me have been, kind of in that position, with ADHD or anxiety, a couple other things, and I think it actually builds a lot of character in people. I mean, like people who do, especially those who find out so much later. They've had to work around. They've had to be.
But do you think that many people in the world have ADHD? I mean, essentially, what you're saying is obviously you have a tight knit group. So let's say 50% of your staff members have ADHD. Do you think 50% of the people you hired have ADHD? Like, or do you think that doctors and psychologists and everything don't know exactly how to diagnose this, and they're just diagnosing everybody to either push the pill product on them or to just figure out a way and say, okay, this is probably what they have, so I'll just let them know they have this, as opposed to trying saying maybe there's another thing going on here, because everybody has it these days.
Yeah. So I mean, I can give you kind of like, I mean, I kind of have like maybe 3 or 4 things to say about that. I'll start with history. History is something that is, this is like the thing my mom likes to bring up, and that is, the further we go on with this, the more ADHD we're finding. But they weren't finding that much ADHD back in the day, or ADD. I know that it was ADD at one point. Now it's ADHD, or depression or anxiety. But also remember that, like, we're trying to fit people in a box that is pretty small in the 21st century. Whereas in previous generations, I mean, my grandfather, I've been left high school in 8th grade and lived a really good life being an artist. And he was a journeyman painter, and he just leaned into what he was good at. A lot of people, especially with really tactile, non-technology based skills, don't have that option. So I think there was a lot of opportunities for people who maybe had these, call them imbalances, call them deficits, call them, I don't call them fucking superpowers. I mean, I certainly feel like mine is one. So everybody reacts differently to whatever the chemicals in their brain is, or whatever the chemicals in their brain are, rather. But the next side of it is man, I do think that certain things, certain whether it's chemical, because I understand the chemical process that makes ADHD, in theory, dopamine and norepinephrine. I mean, there's so much more than that, though. But the, I mean, I find it hard to believe that I mean, I assume you guys can probably see where I'm coming from with this, but some of the most interesting people in my life are fucking weirdos. I'm a weirdo. Like,
Yeah, but does that mean you have ADHD? It just
Well,
means that you're colorful.
What
Like,
it sounds like to me, and let me try and maybe bridge a gap between like the conversation you guys are having. What it sounds like to me is, and I'm gonna include Plug Your Holes in this because I think it makes sense since we've talked a little bit about your crew and the people you have.
Right.
It sounds like you guys are kind of festering and you've created this environment with Plug Your Holes. And it sounds so cliche to say, but it sounds like it's more like a family than a business,
we try when we can. Yes, that is the intention, and we've even had to have conversations with our employees. I mean, as recently as yesterday, where I think as little management as possible is the best management as possible.
I believe in that sentiment.
I'm
as well.
the opposite of a micromanager. I guess I don't know. I guess that would be a macro manager, but yeah, I mean, I definitely get what you're saying.
Like it's kind of like an open book, right? I mean, I feel like, like I said, I'm not there. I don't see it, but it sounds like you have a lot of faith and a lot of belief in the people that you personally have surrounded yourself with. And in one way or another, it sounds like everyone that is affiliated with you or your business somehow contributes their efforts, whether they, are dealing with their own issues on their side. Everyone kind of has their niche, I guess is the word I'm looking for, right?
maybe that, or just the family he's built all share the same
Totally.
afflictions, I guess you would call them,
There you
or I don't know if you'd call it an affliction. So
I don't know. Sorry, I just totally burped. I don't know
you good?
if that picked up
Horrible.
on the
Just
camera. I
horrible.
apologize, but we're on the microphone rather. But the yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. I don't. So before I go into, and this is kind of like what the third point I was going to say, and I totally agree with what Simon is saying, is that like, yeah, I mean, I think they're birds of a feather, man.
Yeah.
There's a certain type of person who kind of gather easily because I think that they are not easily understood by other groups of people. And so when you kind of find a big supportive group of those types of people, you really want to fight for that group. And so I definitely agree with that. We're kind of we're an island of misfit toys to a certain degree. And I do see a lot of passion and community within our business. And it's actually, I mean, and even just to go back to kind of something I said earlier, when I said I was in a Christian band, I think one of the things, I'm no longer somebody who identifies as a Christian, but one thing I think Christianity does right is community. And I try to engage in community, positive communities everywhere I possibly can, especially even things like this. I mean, I think this is like one. I mean, I would have this conversation if it was just three of us, but the fact that it's being recorded, I think, is really good for people to hear. Just stories, shortcomings, victories,
Truth.
The whole nine yards, and it's we all have them, and a lot of times we don't talk about enough of them. So I think that's really great, and I think a lot of people have a lot to learn from those who've kind of walked the path before them. But the being prescribed like the SSRI, dopamine that I was when I was younger, kind of like, I mean, I've had a really hard time trusting doctors and the educational system my entire life because of like some things where I felt like I was let down on. And
so how do you pass that on to your kids then? Like, I mean, you've been put through the ringer essentially. So how do you transfer this to your children and not your wife to where you're like, hey, I've been through this shit. I don't want my kid doing this. Like, Have you run into that yet? I mean, that's a big deal.
So you're asking a question in the middle of an answer that even makes the answer longer. So
I was thinking the same
We got hours, man. We got nowhere to be.
no, I get, and likewise, my wife got her first vaccine today, so she's gonna be, if it affects her anyway that it affected me when I got mine, she's gonna be out cold in about 10 minutes ago. So the to finish, I'm gonna do cliff notes on kind of like how I ended up with the ADHD diagnosis, and what I feel about it, and just to, I don't know, tell. I mean, my wife is definitely ADHD and always has been. She, but is also from an immigrant family who refused anything is wrong with anyone ever. So probably she wasn't diagnosed until she was in her 30s. But like it was a big problem, in her whole life, getting in the way of jobs, relationships.
Wow, but it sounds like she had to kind of fight for that on her own a little bit.
But by the way, and one thing I'll kind of reiterate later is that there's value in that in and of itself. So to kind of give you an element of my take on like conditions before they were considered conditions, we all have an evolutionary reason to be where we are. Like we're the survivors of thousands of generations of bipedal mammals who have gotten to this point, and for whatever reason our genetics have lasted the whole time because we kept winning. Our ancestors continue to win, and now we're in 2021, and you're a winner, Simon, and you're a winner, Trevor, and I'm a winner, Sam, because we have won the game of evolution to this point. And who knows, everybody dies off at some point, but we've made it this far. So if we made it this far with ADHD, or made it this far with depression, or made it this far with anxiety or autism or anything, there's probably a biological advantage to all of it. It doesn't mean it's a biological advantage in the 21st century. It might be a biological advantage in the 16th century or the 10th century, BC. Like it doesn't necessarily mean that it fits into the box in the world we live in right now, and it doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't fit in the box that we live 1,000 years from now. That's why evolution is so slow, is because it can't take 1,000-year period and totally change up your genetics and then determine, oh shit, we need to bring that one back because that thing worked. Yeah. So I don't think ADHD is necessarily a biological disadvantage. It's maybe a career disadvantage, or it's maybe a educational disadvantage, or maybe just a control of the system disadvantage. I know almost everybody I know with ADHD is very, very smart. And most of them are outside the box thinkers, which,
technically that means that half or more of Silicon Valley has ADHD. If you're a programmer sitting in there going 1,000 miles an hour every single day, you have ADHD.
You're probably, I think there's a fair chance that a large chunk of that Silicon Valley crowd on the side in which you're speaking of are probably, high likelihood for spectrum, high likelihood for ADHD. I don't disagree with that at all. I think that we have found a 21st century thing for them to succeed at that maybe isn't the reason it's there, but we've reintroduced something into the system that takes advantage of that particular skill set.
Hey, music industry, need software?
Prism FM is the only independent, all-in-one solution that helps buyers, promoters, and venues manage everything they do.
From holds all the way through settlement, this software is all-encompassing.
Let's replace error-prone spreadsheets with a secure, mobile-friendly platform.
Teams can manage more with less, eliminating costly redundancies while improving team communication.
Organizations using Prism will be able to recover faster when shows finally come back to life.
Visit prism.fm for more information.
You and your business will not be disappointed. We guarantee it.
Making good music is hard, but marketing your music shouldn't be. It's simple.
Simple was born out of the idea of wanting to help musicians and industry professionals better navigate the modern music industry.
Whether you're an artist, band, manager, or record owner, Simple has a solution for you.
They offer Facebook and Instagram ads management services, Spotify growth, content marketing consultations, and so much more.
Visit their website at oddlysimple.xyz. That's SIMPL no E .xyz.
No E. Go check it out.
Thanks.
I was just going to say, I think there's a fair chance that the majority of artists have ADHD. And I think that's one thing, just to round it back around to plug your holes, while we continue this conversation, is this all started from art. It was born through art, and it continues to be art. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the people that I'm assuming you surround yourself with Plug Your Holes are artists.
I know, but hold on, I'm going to jump in on this. Again, we keep going to the ADHD thing, and I'm not doubting that people have ADHD, but right now, everybody has it. And I'm putting in generalities, of course, and making a bigger number of it, but everybody is getting diagnosed with this if you go in. Like, the likelihood of you being diagnosed with ADHD versus not being diagnosed has to be minimal. Like, you go in, you take the test. Oh, well, you have ADD instead of ADHD. Or you're even hyper with it. Like it.
Yeah, and I understand. There's even an argument to be made there that, like, is our societal background or the massive amount of dopamine that we need in a day through constantly checking our phone and the notifications and just the world we live in, is that, like, exacerbating what maybe was not ADHD or was mild ADHD, turning into, like, an actual thing, a distraction. I mean, it's a really hard time. I mean, I think anybody who's had employees in the last 10 years can understand how hard it is to keep them off their goddamn phones.
When you use the word dopamine, sorry to interrupt you, but that's something that really resonates with me and a lot of other people. And maybe there's some listeners that don't fully understand that, but that's that angst, that want, that need, that feeling that you get, when you, I don't know, it's hard to describe.
But that's what we've been programmed in the last 20 years since the invention of cell phones and the technology booms and all that stuff, to where we need that dopamine. Social media is creating
I play video games,
dopamine
I
addict.
feel
Video
that.
games, like all the shit. Like, and I'm not blaming them for those. I'm saying, though, that we've become accustomed that we have to be continuously sensationalized,
feed ourselves,
or else we're lacking. And then, of course, it turns into an ADHD situation where it's like, shit, I got to get my fix somehow. I got to get my dopamine fix, or I got to, figure out how to, keep my attention somewhere else, or I got to be doing 30 things at once. Like, even myself, I'll be sitting there at my work desk where I have 3 monitors. I have a TV going in front of me with a movie on. I'm on a conference call, and I'm emailing somebody and texting. And if I'm not doing that all at the same time, my life is fucked. I feel like I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I can relate to that for sure. I'm cracking a beer right now, and I'm just going to shout it out because Surly Furious is my favorite beer of all
I've
time.
never seen that.
And they're from my home state of Minnesota, but they just recently started distributing here. So I don't drink a lot of beer.
Can we get it closer to the camera? I really want to see that logo there.
Yeah, Furious. Surly.
Surly's
Love
the
it.
brewery,
Love
and
it.
Furious IPA is their vibe.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's like the hoppiest goddamn IPA you've ever had in your life, but it's nice and smooth too. So.
Disgusting.
I mean,
But I'm sure it's fantastic, and I hope they sponsor the show. Thank you, Sponsor Daddy.
Surly Furious IPA.
I love, anybody who knows. So basically, I think they are only in Chicago, Omaha, Minneapolis, and Kansas City. They're a Minneapolis-based company.
So they essentially did the Goose Island launch, and then now they're probably looking to go national.
Yeah. I mean, Goose Island's everywhere. We have a friend who works for Goose Island.
But Goose Island just Midwest launched when they originally launched the whole thing, and it was just the and then of course you have Wisconsin where you have Spotted Cow. Thank you very much. But yes, but yeah,
I just want to shift.
Where in Wisconsin are you from?
Madison.
Okay.
Madison.
But
Madison. He talks like a fucking Californian now.
I know. I got rid of the accent.
He said hella the other day to me. I was like, whoa,
it was out
Trev.
of control. I
Yeah,
try not to
we're
carry.
really adopting you.
I try not to carry my O's the way I used to, and it's difficult though, because you say things, and then you go back home, or you go visit your family, and then all you do is
or you just have a goddamn phone call, and you're just like, Jesus Christ.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Hey, just to tap in though, I think obviously the evolution of the company has been amazing. The growth has been amazing. The hard work that you've put into it, and clearly built this extremely strong team behind you that you believe in, of artists, inventors, entrepreneurs, and creatives. But I wanted to rewind a little bit to when you kind of first started seeing some initial success. When was the first time that you had to dive into, maybe not just shipping something overseas, or realistic orders going overseas, but realistically where you were like, okay, it's not just my friends buying this. It's becoming a global company kind of that it is now, How did that happen? How did that develop? And what was it like? What was that transition like for you,
The initial takeoff was so much faster. And I look at the numbers now, and I mean, our first, we did more this week than we did in all of 2009.
Yeah, that's wild.
So it's like one of those things where like I look at growth and go, man, I thought that number was crazy. And so it's really hard to think about, like, I don't even know where I consider takeoff to be. I guess takeoff is when it was my full-time job, and then it became my wife's full-time job as well. And
when did you take the leap, by the way? Because that's the biggest thing for young entrepreneurs that are doing this. Until you take the leap and throw both feet in the pool, then it's a hobby.
Are you saying take the leap as in like making my full-time job?
Yeah. When were you finally like, you know what? I have to put 100% into this in order to succeed, but also, obviously financial aspects are there as well.
Day one.
Cool. I like that. I like that, dude.
How long before you hired your second employee?
Your wife was your second employee, right?
Yeah. So my wife was my second employee. She worked her job because we wanted to buy a house in 2008. So she stayed on just for the income verification side of it. Because it was the bottom of the market, so we bought a house for like $40,000.
What a terrible time to try and be successful, 2008 in America, dude.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, so we bought a 3-bedroom house for $40,000 in Duluth, Minnesota. We still own. It's a rental property.
Wow.
But,
and I'm sure it's not worth that anymore.
Yeah. But we just needed, in order. I mean, we're young. We don't have a really great established credit at the time. So she stuck with her job, up until I think it was like February or March of 2008. So we're talking the company's only, a year and a half old or something at that point. And she was spending the majority. I mean, she was still, my hand. I mean, at the time, there wasn't a stamps.com. There wasn't Indicia, so, especially international stuff. We had to handwrite, the international slips and stuff. My handwriting is terrible. So nobody would have got their packages in that era if they did not have my wife handwriting the fucking international slips. But like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I jumped in the deep end of the pool. I mean, and that's just kind of how I work. I'm just, that's how I was with music. That's how I am with anything I do now yeah. I mean,
when were you able to personally back off from making the product? Or do you still to this day? I mean, obviously you have hand in on design and creativity and all of that, but I mean, now you guys have reached such a massive scale.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You should see this guy's warehouse. Like, they make all their own shit in-house.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. But I don't mean like outsourcing the product. I mean, when were you personally like, okay, I can't sit here and make all of this stuff right now,
Okay, so I'll just kind of give you like a basic rundown. Trevor's half right, you're half right, Simon, and there's a lot of nuance involved. But I think I can break it down into 4 points. One is that when we started, we were exclusively buying from wholesalers and basically just flipping product. Later on came what Trevor is referring to as the customization. So we have laser engraved products. We are on our laser engraver. We recently upgraded that last summer, and we can laser engrave. I mean, and we also have we have Plug Your Holes is one business, but we actually have all these side businesses where we do like contracts for like other companies where we do the laser engraving, or we do some commercial printing, and we also do we will be doing CNC lathe work, but or not CNC lathe, CNC routing work. So we have all these tools, and the laser engraver. I mean, we use it a lot, but I mean, there's there's some meat left on the table that if somebody needs to bring in a contract for us, we can handle it. And then I would say that in 2019 we started. We've always manufactured a fair amount of like the products we want to see on the market ourselves through China or Indonesia, and then in 2019 we really made a point to we had a 2-year plan that was to make a big scaling of that to reduce the need for wholesalers. And because of COVID, that accelerated. And then because of the California lockdowns, all of our wholesalers in California. And so we just had to go. Like, I mean, we spent, I mean, I can't even tell you how much money we spent, but it was just insane. Like, we basically just flipped our entire operation to being relying on our own manufacturing between Indonesia and China. I mean, it was 90 days of literally every dollar that came in the door went straight to product.
Stressful was
and
that,
then,
dude? Sorry, go ahead. I was just, that blows my mind that, you know, to this day, people are not realizing the effects that like COVID and the pandemic have had on like everyone, including small businesses, you know, or independently owned American companies. And then I hear something like that and it just blows my mind. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I mean, the conversations me and him had during the entire pandemic, like,
it's ridiculous.
It wasn't holy fuck or, you know, screwed. It's holy fuck. We need to expand as fast as we possibly can.
You know, you just heard 90 days, 100% of profit was having to go back into making sure the business could sustain itself. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll just give a good example. Like, so end of March last year, we started seeing a tick up in business, but we knew our supply chain, our runway, based on, we were monitoring what was happening in New York and Seattle. And then we were monitoring also like what we had on hand. And we had just come out of Chinese New Year, which, you know, we stock up before Chinese New Year with all the stuff we do get from China. But then China, like basically Chinese New Year was extended basically due to lockdowns in China. And then we knew California was going to lock down because Seattle started to lock down. We knew that thing would run down the coast. And we didn't know how bad it would be, but we knew it happened. And so we figured we had something like a 46-day runway as of April 1st of last year. And for anybody who doesn't know what runway means, basically it just means like 46 days, we don't have anything else left to sell.
Yeah. We need to figure out how to get more.
What's up?
We need to figure out how to get more.
We need to figure out how to get more. Yeah. This is the amount of time we
have. And so one of our answers for that was, and this is before the stimuluses, this is before all that shit. So on April 1st, we increase prices across the board by 10% just to slow shit down. We were at a really small crew. A couple of people had left because they were had some issues that they had to, like, you know, they just chose to not be, you know, around people. So they were isolating, and we basically had 6 people, which is not many. And I'm one of the 6. And that lasted for about 6 fucking days.
Wow.
And then the sales just ramped right back up on the 6th or 7th of April. And then I believe, if I recall, it was the 12th of April where the stimulus checks started hitting. And we're having, you know, I mean, we're just having huge days, you know. Oddly enough, those days are, I mean, they're not, you know, I say they're huge, but like at the time they were. But now it's like, I mean, every day for the last fucking 90 days has been bigger than those 3 days where the stimulus is hit. And it was just like all hands on deck, get everything out the door as quick as possible, satisfy the customer's need, which is always the big thing here is people put faith in us to provide a product and a service and speed. And when you fail them, you lose them. And that's it. And, so yeah, we just like fought like hell to get through it. And then we threw money. I mean, we literally just spent money, every dollar we could. I mean, it almost reminded me of the beginning of the company where, I mean, I was willing to not pay rent to just get that much more product in the door. It was that crazy. You know, and so just to put things in perspective, we were shipping about, January of last year. So that's kind of just to give you a baseline. We were shipping about 2,000 orders a month in January last year. And I think we shipped 10,000 orders this January.
It's
And that,
incredible.
and
It's
this
incredible.
month that we're in right now will be our best month of all time, um, in by every metric. Um, but it would come, March, April, May, June, July last year. Every month was just like insane. The only dip we saw was June, and we attribute a lot of that to like the Black Lives Matter protests, and a lot of like social
Yeah,
distractions,
yeah.
and we actually, we in the month of May and the month of June, we donated $1 of every order towards charities that were, you know, um, helping with bail of people who were arrested in protests, and just doing a lot of that
You
stuff.
just put your best foot forward and
Um,
try to help your community, you know?
oh yeah, I mean, dude, absolutely, and it felt so good because for the first time, and probably in our company's history, I mean, like we've been bootstrapped forever, and for the first time, I felt like I made kind of like the comment earlier, right about the time I met Trevor, which was summer of
It was
19, I guess.
no, it was the final Warp Tour year, so it was like 2018, 2017.
18. Okay. Okay. Um, right about the time I met you is the first time in my life I was starting to get like paid like a normal wage. I wasn't like living on 30 grand a year with a stay-at-home mom and
Oh
a and a
God.
and a and a, and a child. You know what I mean? Like it's like there was some like, I mean, I never I it was a long time of like not taking um my cut. I always went back into the business. And in rough years, I maxed out every credit card and did the whole,
Hmm.
every dumb thing you could, took out loans, all this other shit. But you know, right about the time I met you was kind of the time where everything, kind of started to not need me to like cannibalize my own life for the business. And for people who own businesses, I mean, like, yeah, sometimes that does take a decade to get to. Um, yeah, it's a lot of hard work. Yeah, so that's kind of that like that story of the last year, and that kind of story of that like kind of struggle. Um, as far as like the employees that we have, I mean, they're fucking amazing. I mean, also over the last year, because we've needed to hire so many people. So when I said at the beginning of the pandemic we're at 6 people, right now we're at 16. We just hired our 17th. We're looking for our 18th and 19th, probably our 20th as well. Um, but like we've also taken in a bunch of people from the music industry, because my general manager's wife is the general manager of a bunch of venues between Kansas City and Nashville, and um, we just have a good pool of people who did well in the music
Yeah.
industry here in Kansas City, and we're able to kind of pull over and transition into what we're doing. But we also understand that when the music industry ramps back up, they're gonna have a
Oh,
decision:
it's ramping right now, buddy.
do I stay in the
It's
music
It's
industry?
ramping, baby.
It's ramping.
We're hoping anyway.
Oh, we're well
Yes.
aware. I mean, yeah, I mean, we are very aware of that. So,
Speaking of ramping, you guys should probably be excited. The second round of stimuluses are going out, so get ready to start sending out a lot more orders.
We'll see.
yeah,
Well, Trevor too.
yeah,
Trevor
yeah.
actually wants to take this opportunity on air to ask you if Plug Your Holes would like to sponsor some of his band's tours.
Oh, get out of
coming
here!
up.
No, we're not answering that. That's not happening.
Yeah,
That's
no,
not happening.
and something Trevor alluded to earlier is that I have my reasons for doing the things I do, but I never hesitate. I never dilly dally around a no, and that's a no.
Thank you.
Dude, honestly, it sounds like you are such a solid dude and real to the core. And Trevor said that before we even did this, and I'm glad, because like I said, I told you off air before we were doing this. I was like, fuck, I didn't really get a chance to like kind of dive into your life and figure out who you are. And I feel like in the short, hour and 20 minutes we've been talking, I do know who you are, and I appreciate your honesty and the realness. It's not easy to wear it all on your sleeve, and I hate the term wear your emotions on your sleeve, but you do strike me as someone that does that, and I appreciate that. There's a level of honesty and confidence that comes behind doing that I enjoy.
Yeah. Hey, how often are you rocking the drums behind you, by the way?
Not often. I'll tell you two things. So, I've never drummed in my entire life. First of all, um, I bought this jazz kit behind me. It's a Gretsch jazz kit. I bought it because jazz kits are smaller, and I can fuck around on the drums, but I really want my daughter. My daughter is, when we talk about ADD, she just needs something all the time, and not in a kid way. I mean, like I'll get actually this is actually something I wanted to like kind of wrap up on that side of it, the ADHD side. But I wanted like this. So my wife made this entire room for me, and my grandfather's acoustic Gibson is up there. It's the first guitar I ever played. I When he died, I didn't get it. It went to my aunt, and when she died, her husband gave it to me.
If it's that old, it's probably a beautiful, beautiful guitar.
Yeah, and so if anybody knows, it's like a '63 Gibson
J200
folk singer. I have my own Telecaster over there. I have the drum set behind me. I have my amp over there. And then this like area over here, which is like oddly enough the fourth bar in my house. I swear I don't have a drinking problem. But I'm so thankful my wife like built this room. This is my Christmas present. Is like this room was just dedicated to like, it's just my room, and that's why I did the whole thing down here. So to answer your question, I've played that drum set maybe 3 times, and as a matter of fact, since they set it back up, my wife and a friend of hers, when they did this room, the hi-hat is still on the right side of the kick drum, and I am a right-handed drummer, so I haven't even put the hi-hat back on the left side to change that. So not often, to answer your question. Just been a little busy.
I can't imagine with what you'd be busy with, I'll tell you that. So
I'm sorry, one more time.
I can't imagine what you'd be busy with.
I don't know. Stuff.
Yeah. So now that things are returning to normalcy, and obviously you're vaccinated now, or you got your first round, which is great.
I got my first. Yeah, I'll be fully vaccinated on the 25th, and then I guess it takes 10 days or something. Yeah. So April 3rd or April 4th or something.
So where's your vacation going to be?
Northern California, perhaps.
Let's go to Thailand. I'll go there with you absolutely right now. Let's go to Thailand.
I would. So they're not even letting people in who are vaccinated at this point.
Into Thailand?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. You can go to Europe, but you can't go to Thailand. Interesting. Hey, everybody, it's Trevor and Adam.
We want you to check out Dynamic Talent International, the boutique booking agency with a personal attention to their clients' needs.
From music talent, seminars, podcasts, and YouTube, DTI represents a wide range of incredible clients.
Visit dynamictalentint.com for a full roster list and contact information. Go check it out. Cat clothing for all the cat lovers in us.
Visit catclothing.net for their full line of cat-inspired clothes.
Hoodies, shirts, tanks, shorts, and even fitness gear are now fully in stock for the fall and winter season.
Again, visit catclothing.net today. Check it out. Thanks, everybody.
Meow, meow. I was watching I'm a massive fan of UFC. I know I do this every fucking podcast. I always bring up UFC. But, I noticed there was a fighter that fought on the Conor McGregor card. Dan Hooker's his name. Badass dude. And he's from New Zealand. And just day before yesterday, he got into New Zealand, finally. It was a fucking 54-day quarantine, bro. You got to spend a month wherever you were, which is like Dubai or something, in quarantine. And then you got to go spend another month in a hotel in New Zealand for them to even let you in. But they literally have 0 cases.
Yeah, I think it's the only place on the planet that has 0 cases.
So it makes perfect sense, But still, it's like, ooh, man, that's crazy, dude. Respect to people that are, having to pull away from their family and spend that much time apart. That is unreal.
Yeah.
No, I agree. That's unreal. And we've all created plenty of takes on like what this is. I mean, you guys live in California. You live in one of probably the strictest states.
It's rough here right now. It's rough.
Yeah, I live in Missouri.
No mask mandate now.
because I live in Kansas City, and oddly enough, Kansas City and St. Louis have done great. So we've kept cases super low through masks and just like basic ass shit. Like we haven't had to go as strict as California because the cities have done a pretty good job. But just with like minor shit, we had a lockdown in gosh, was that I guess April? I think probably went into May. So it was like 6 weeks or something. Might have ended in early June.
But that was it, right?
And yeah, that was it. And even at the beginning, I mean, like we had our garage doors, so we have these big bay doors. that are on like not a busy street by any stretch, but like a street people do drive down, and we're kind of in like a I guess like a businessy industrial area, and but the and what the first like 70-degree day of the year, it was like one of the first days of the lockdown,
Oh man.
and everybody asked like, "Are we working? We're masked. We got 10,000 square feet. Let's get it done." At the time there's 6 or 7 of us. I mean, it's like the fuck. This is easy. Like we can be safe and just do this and
totally.
get shit done. And at the time we're also very, very busy. And somebody who decides to do an anonymous tip drives by our warehouse, sees that our garage doors are open, and deems us not an essential business. But what saved us is that we're not technically in Kansas City. We're in an enclave of Kansas City called North Kansas City that is a separate political structure because of this is where all the casinos are.
Oh wow.
And so the casinos pay all the taxes up here. So there's no income tax in North Kansas City, and we have like way more cops than we should, being that nobody lives up here, or lives there rather. I'm not there right now. And so some lady from the city calls me up. Her name is Kim, I think, if I recall. And I just told her, I'm like, hey man, we're not an essential business, but my employees are essential, and every one of them's got a significant other that's out of
My
work.
mortgage is essential.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just, just like, hey, we're being as safe as we can, and we got 10,000 square feet to do it in, And she's like, close your garage door.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear another call.
Oh yeah, dude. It's like lasers out here. We got 50 million people, and you're not. We're slowly reaching a better situation. But without diving into political and stuff like that, we're dealing with like a governor and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, I mean, we just want to be able to open up safely, as far as I'm concerned. And it's kind of like when I see a bunch of people throwing like underground concerts at their house, and there's people like me and Trevor who like really do work in that industry, and we're losing tons of money because it's not open, and I see people and they're just like having these house parties and throwing concerts, and I'm like, hey dude,
TikTok
I get
houses.
it. Yeah, I'm like, you want it, we all want it, but like you're not helping us, you're not helping these businesses, so I hope we can get on your guys' level soon.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know. I mean, the other thing too is like I know full well that the vaccines are rolling out here in a different way than they are in most states. And so Hy-Vee is a big grocery store here, and that's where ours are going. That's where the vaccines are coming out here. And so I qualify for, because I'm fat, I have high blood pressure, and there's something else I don't know. Oh, I have asthma, and so I qualify by our state's rules to get a vaccine, and so I got mine last Wednesday, my first one, and they're just being done at like this local grocery store. I mean, like it's a chain. It's all throughout the Midwest. If you've been to the Midwest, I mean, I don't know if Wisconsin has Hy-Vees, but Hy-Vees are all over.
Yeah,
the
we have
Midwest.
Hy-Vee.
Okay, yeah. So Hy-Vee is like the place all throughout the Midwest right now to get vaccines at. And I was talking to one of the ladies there when I was getting it done, and she's like, "Oh yeah, every day we don't fill up our calendar. Like we don't fill up the bookings every day, and
Dude,
we can't."
Unreal.
There's like a 5-week waiting list here in California to get on the thing.
And it's like a fucking military procession, It's like you got to drive through like a fucking military base type style to even get in there, and get anything.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
They converted all the baseball stadiums. Like they've got the Coliseum's got it now.
Cal Expo,
Cal
which
Expo,
is like our largest,
and then Dodger Stadium. Like all of those are vaccine sites now. Oh yeah, over at Levi Stadium too, and
it's crazy.
Like all of them, they're all converted sites, and you drive through like a procession, like you said, and get stabbed and keep going.
I mean, Kansas. I mean, just to give people a perspective, because like everybody thinks of everything that's in the middle of the map as just I mean, if you're not from the Midwest, you just think of everything as like a small town. Kansas City's got about 2.5 in the metro area.
Oh yeah.
But a half a million in the city limits, about 2.5 metro. And I mean, but there's Hy-Vees fucking everywhere. So I think there's like 16 just in the metro area that are doing the vaccines. But the one I went to, they said, yeah, we have about 20 to 30 left after every day. And so we started just going out in the grocery store at the beginning. And they started this about a month ago. We started going out in the grocery store and just finding old people. Anybody who looked high risk, and just trying to pull them back in, because we can't. These will not last till tomorrow. So we have to give them so much a day. And this is after obviously they did all the employees and all this other stuff. And then they just got sick of that, and they're just like, we just at 4:30 we just called over the intercom, and just like anybody wants a vaccine, we got 27 left. First come first serve.
That's wild.
And
dude, like 100,000 a day are going bad, like just in Sacramento.
Oh,
yeah,
I know.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we still have 100,000 left. They're not in the right temperature. They're done now. We can't use them. It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, if you follow what Israel did the entire time, it's kind of what Missouri's doing, I guess. And Missouri, I don't agree with the politics of Missouri at all. But what Missouri's doing is kind of following what Israel did, or at least what these high Vs are doing is following what Israel did. And what Israel would do is basically, they take the highest risk first, and then if they had openings, they would basically just literally walk out on the street and grab delivery boys and be like, you might be 22 and healthy, but this is better than it going to waste. So here's your vaccine card and come back in 3 weeks.
On a lateral to this, did you hear that that Italy's going into its 4th lockdown? They're locking the entire country down as
Jesus.
of today. Yeah. This taping as of today, but yeah, like that's madness.
Better safe than sorry, man.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing. I try not to get too into the political vibes with it. I just want everyone safe, man. I want businesses to be able to open up. Businesses like yours, like the ones I work for. I want to see people flourish, be happy, be healthy, quit being so fucking anti this or anti that. It's like, yo, let's just all get together, do what's best for all of us, and get back to making money.
Hey, on that note, I love it, brother. Sammy, we're gonna take off for the day, but man, it's been absolutely an honor to have you, my friend. We got to do it again because we got to dive deeper, because I know we could dive deeper into this thing for hours, and I love it.
I know. I feel like there's got to be a part 2, because I still had a
shitload
shitload of questions to ask you, but it's like we are at like fucking almost 2 hours. So
yeah.
Can I just really quickly say one thing, just to close one
Absolutely.
like thread in my mind that like kind of was never touched on, that I just, because it's very much based on the ADHD thing that Trevor had mentioned. I just want to get like a quick account of the last 50 days of my life. And that was, I found myself at the end of the day, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, not being able to turn off my brain. The way my brain works is I have 40 tabs open on the browser that was never meant to even have 10 open. And bouncing back and forth. What happens at the end of the day is I can't close any of the tabs. They're all open. And so I found myself over the last couple of years drinking a lot more, and using basically the sedative of alcohol to just be able to like fucking chill out at the end of the day. And I realized that was becoming a problem. I went to a doctor. Unfortunately, my doctor retired last summer. And so this is my first time at a new doctor, because I haven't been to the doctor since COVID started. And I bring it up. She prescribes me an anti-anxiety medicine. I've never had anxiety my entire life, but I'm like, and oddly enough, it's an SSRI, which is what I was on when I was a kid, and that made me feel like shit. The terrible side effects is the worst. But the best news of the entire thing is that this woman, not the woman that was the doctor, but one of the nurses who knew me and has known me for a few years, handed me a Post-it note with another doctor's phone number on it, and was like, you should reach out to this person, because I know you, and I don't think you're going to get what you want here. Went to that doctor. Got over these terrible issues with this SSRI, and she'd asked me a very simple question: have you ever tried Adderall? Because a lot of people do it recreationally, and I had not. I've actually been always afraid of stimulants outside of caffeine, because I'm such a hyper dude that I'm afraid my heart's going to burst out of my chest. My first day on Adderall, I've never had the attention deficit side. I've always had the hyperactivity side. My first day on Adderall, I felt like a Buddhist.
It
fucking
calmed
monk.
you down, huh?
It was yeah. And I'm not saying that I need it for every moment of my life. I'm not saying that ADHD or whatever you want to call it, whatever thing I had or have rather, is necessarily a disability, but it was creating a quality of life issue. That if Adderall calms me down enough to not drink 8 shots of whiskey at the end of the night, they're mixed drinks, but but basically that's the equivalent of what I'm drinking. If that's what it takes to not have that kind of day, yeah, I'll take the Adderall.
What about
And
popping like a gummy or something like that, like CBD or THC or something like that? Is there a similar effect to that, towards more of a natural?
no, not at all.
Okay, so Adderall is a completely Zenning Buddhist feeling,
No.
as to weed, where it's just kind of like sleepiness, or what? I don't know what your off effects are.
Well, if I can chime in, I mean, like he said, Adderall is one of those things where it's kind of like maybe a college student does Adderall to stay up all night and do their studying before a test, but there is certain people, and I can speak on this a little bit because my younger brother is disabled. He does have autism, and you know, through like my mom's life, I've kind of seen the different medicines they've had him on and things of that nature. And certain people it can affect in different ways. You know, for example, like he said, you know, it helps level him out a little bit. Some people it affects on a completely other level. You know, one of my good friends, Steve, who you've met before, you know, Steve can drink a Rockstar Energy and it calms him down. You know what I mean? Where if I drink a Rockstar or a Red Bull, you know, I'm a 1-cup coffee guy, 1 Red Bull. Like, I can't go beyond that. You know, I start shaking and getting all wired. And some people, it's a smoothing agent, and it can help balance them out a little bit, and maybe, you know, counteract a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
And just to kind of like clarify on that one, I think there's a lot we don't even understand about the diagnosis of ADHD, because I've never had the AD, and I was never a hyperactive kid. But there's something to be said about taking an amphetamine and it calming you down. Clearly, there's something in that realm that exists that I honestly don't even think is well understood enough. Like, we have this like whatever box that we put ADHD in, but I think that box is so much larger than what and the only reason I really wanted to bring this up is because I'm sure as we've spoken about this and as people are listening, I think that box is something people need to understand, that isn't necessarily a debilitation. I mean, to some degree, it's my secret sauce. It's the thing that allowed me to do 16-hour days. It's the thing that allowed me. I mean, it's the thing that like allows me to function without sleep. I can shit you not. Monday night I did not sleep, or I'm sorry, Sunday night I did not sleep. I put in a fucking 12-hour day on Monday. And it was on 0 fucking sleep. And that's not Adderall related. That's just like, when my brain does not turn off, my brain does not turn off. I feel like shit. You know, like I want to shit my brains out, you know, every 14 minutes, but it's the brain function. It's just it's so fucking aggressive that's the thing at the end of the day, that if I can't turn it off, I was resorting, like I said, to alcohol. And just to answer your question about the marijuana or cannabis related products, I've never been a big cannabis person. I smoked a bunch when I was a teenager. I currently have plenty of products in my house if I want to partake. I'll have an edible maybe once every 3 months or something. It's just never really quite done it for me, just to answer your question on that one. And
I mean, lately I've been really pumping the gummies, you know,
CBD, man.
For myself. And I'll tell you what, when you're at that one point where you're like, man, shit, I just need a night where I just need to like not think about shit for a while, man, you just pop in. I pop in like 15, a big old 15er or 20, and I just go into a coma, and it's great.
But I like the point both of you guys are making. You know, it's just kind of that level of honesty where it's like, hey, don't be afraid to reach out and experiment, and don't live in fear of those situations. Like you said, there's those advantages. You know, it helped you build a company that you poured your heart and soul into. That's, you know, continuing a level of success. But I think you're right. If that's kind of, you know, the point you were getting at, is some people do live in that level of fear, and they think something's wrong with them, and they're scared to try new things, you know? And I feel like you're a living example of, you know, hey, don't be that scared.
Well, and just a reminder too, it's like a lot of times we look at this as like there's something wrong, and you know, I mean, you said your brother is on the autism spectrum, and that doesn't mean that he does not have value. It does not mean that he does not have a life that should be valued. It just means that sometimes finding that value or finding that thing is a little harder in this era. You know, it you know, like I kind of referred to it earlier as like something that has to do with, you know, imagine how this would have been perceived 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, something like that. These things have been here for a long time. But when it comes down to like, the idea of, whatever ADHD or something like that, the simple box that we hold it inside of doesn't mean that it can't be like something that gives you a lot of productivity. But at the same time, like, yeah, I mean, fucking marathon runners can die of heart attacks if they don't know that they're having, if their heart is unhealthy or something like that. Like the byproduct of whatever was maybe the secret sauce or whatever you want to call it that I've had for probably my whole life was just creating a quality of life issue. And that's the thing, like where I'm trying to like get to is that cannabis hasn't worked. Alcohol is not sustainable. I mean, it worked, but it wasn't sustainable. And so to what you're saying, Trevor, or what you're saying about like the diagnoses of something like ADHD or depression or anxiety or any of this stuff, I would hate for somebody to go through their life without the ability to learn the tools they need unmedicated to get through these things. But at the end of the day, sometimes there is, something that is kind of standing in your way of success or standing in your way of quality of life or something like that. So it's just, and my thing to anybody who's listening is just don't be ashamed. I think a lot more people are on these things than you realize. So don't be ashamed if you're on them. Be honest. That if you need them, you need them. If you don't, you don't. But like, yeah, man, all of our brain chemistries are completely
Don't
different.
live in fear.
And mine overreacts in certain ways, and then fucking lets me down in others. And there's the other side of the coin with everything. So
well said, my friend. Well said. Well, again.
But I'll let us end it on that because I've been.
I appreciate it, dude.
For
I
hours.
appreciate the honesty. I really do. I think you've been extremely sincere and forthcoming, and again, honesty. That's everything. Because there's people out there that are scared to tell you the truth and their real, true life struggles. You know what I mean?
Well, cool. Well, everybody, make sure you check out Plug Your Holes. We'll make sure we put the links in the bios and links everywhere else. Go check out my man. Follow him on all the social medias. He's a funny guy. You don't really.
Is it
post
just
much,
at Plug Your Holes?
Yeah, it's so the Plug Your Holes is at Plug Your Holes on Instagram, at plug. I think it's plug_your_holes on Twitter because I believe our first Twitter was banned, like 10 years ago. And then I'm Sam_Dean on both. I've been maybe a little, I don't know, disenfranchised with social media recently.
Busy making money,
For
brother.
the best. Well, cool, man. You're good, man. We wish you all the success. We love you. We'll definitely have you on again because this is cool shit. And
we got to do part 2.
Yeah, but appreciate it, man, and we'll have you back. All right.
Cool. Thank you guys very much for your time, and I appreciate the ability to ramble.
Pleasure was mine.
And I love conversation because this last year. I have not been particularly lonely, but it is a lonely time, and I know a lot of people have been turning to podcasts. And I hope that our conversation helped somebody be a little less lonely.
I appreciate
you, man.
I
Thanks
think we
everybody.
dove in, man.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Love you guys. We'll see you.
Cheers.